Thank you. And next we have with you again for the past, I think 11, 12 years, maybe at least 11 years, we have been partnered with the NFHS network to bring streaming services for regular season as well as all of our postseason games to the folks in Connecticut and our fans around the country tuning in to see those championships. It's my pleasure to introduce to you from the NFHS and the NFHS network, Mark Koski.
Awesome. Thank you, Glenn, and thanks so much for the opportunity for me to be here. I'm racing around today because my son, who is a sophomore at Zionsville High School in Indy, plays second round of football championships. So right out of this, I'll be bailing out to make sure I can see him tonight for his big game. But it's always good to be here, and Glenn, you and your staff, I mean, no question, one of the best in the country for sure, and innovative, always thinking, forward thinking. And this just shows in terms of, having Sarah and Keely and myself from the NFHS network and Play On here to talk about, how we can enhance, obviously, what you all are doing within your schools and within the profession in a sense. So I've got a short deck for you that I want to run through. But first and foremost, I want to thank you all for being part of the NFHS network if you have been part of us. We're in year 12. Of the network, and to say that this pipe dream that originally started, like I said, 12 years ago, is successful would be an understatement. It has been just, beyond our wildest dreams. So pleased about the growth. Sure, has there been pitfalls? No question. I'm sure some of you have seen those. But with the staff that we have in Atlanta of over 400 people that work for high school only every day, whether it be through the NFHS network or a GoFan, of course, VNN, Our School Today, those four suite of products hopefully are enhancing your job to be easier, better, and it's been successful to you. So we say our network, and the reason for this is when we created the NFHS network, like I said, 12 years ago, it was a dream, again, for us to showcase all 2.2 million high school games that there are nationally, whether it be a freshman, JV, or varsity. But the NFHS network, like I said, through Play On Sports, is only high school. And we'll talk about that in terms of there's been some opportunities where the board has looked at, said, hey, how can we grow the NFHS network to bring more dollars back to state associations? And we've denied those opportunities because if it's not high school and it's not your schools within here in Connecticut, then we don't want to work with them. And I appreciate that because, again, the employees that Play On do such a good job with the high school mindset only. We don't want to, bring in club sports and those groups that don't have the philosophy that we all have in this room. And so I appreciate where we've been able to stay and are going to stay for years to come to be high school only. And that's all we're focusing on itself. So when the NFHS network came together, like I said, 12 years ago, it was 51 state associations. So all 50 states, obviously CIAC being Connecticut. Dr. Chris Niehoff, who is my boss in Indianapolis, had an amazing vision, again, to create this network, and it really has taken off. So I'm going to take you back a little bit here in a few slides to talk about that from day one and where we've progressed to today. I talk about the vision a little bit, and I like throwing this up. A couple years ago in 2022, the NFL just came out on Thursday Night Football to be streaming only. My point to this is think of where the network was in 2013 when we created this to be a streaming only network. And the reason for that was, who are we to pick the game of the week on Friday night or a Tuesday night volleyball game that we can only have one at 7 o'clock if it was on TV, one at 9 o'clock, one at 11 o'clock Eastern. So we needed to find a solution, obviously streaming being that, for us to showcase all 2.2 million games at the same time. And you're going to see some numbers that last year alone, we had one day that over 20,000 games were on the network at once. So all of your schools within this great state have an opportunity to be on this network at the same time, because that's the high school model itself. Never do we have hundreds of thousands of people watching a game, but sometimes we have 5, 50, 100, 200, but that's pretty much kind of where it sits at. But everyone who wants to have an opportunity, who can't make it to that game, has an opportunity to be there. But again, looking at the NFL, who's the largest brand in the world, they, just a couple years ago developed that philosophy of streaming. We obviously were ahead of its time, and Glenn being a big part of that, and Dr. Niehoff being a big part of that philosophy, and we've been able to carry out through years to come. This is kind of a neat thing. Actually, it was just posted 2 days ago. So there was some folks that were up in space, and they were watching their daughter in marching band in Texas on the NFHS network. And that's pretty cool. And that's really why this whole thing was created, for those who can't make it to the game have an opportunity to see and make sure that they don't miss a play and miss a performance itself. It's funny, I talk about me racing back tonight. Well, the reason I'm racing back, because Indiana is one of our states that is not on the NFHS network. Well, that means I can't watch it here. I've got to actually go there. So that's unfortunate. I wish we moved here to Connecticut and I'd be able to travel more. But with that said, we say, it's all sports, but performing arts as well. So speech and debate, music, drama, band, esports, all of those are part of the NFHS network. Again, when we say our network, a high school network, that's what high school is. That's what your association is. That's what you are, is not only sports, but performing arts as well. And anyway, it was kind of neat to see these folks up in space watching their daughter at the UIL Band Championships. Pretty neat. To show you about the structure of the network, because I think this is important to you understand. You Play On Sports. Again, we're going to talk to a couple of folks from Play On here that we work with every day, every minute, every day. I feel Play On Sports is one of the owners of the network. The NFHS, of course, Dr. Niehoff is the CEO, and then state associations. So CIAC, all 51 states are owners of this network. And the great thing is that then we can keep the high school philosophy, as I mentioned earlier, in everything that we do, in all that we do. And so the network, again, over 12 years has brought in almost 9,000 high schools out of the 19,800 high schools there are nationally. And so almost, again, about 50% of the high schools are part of the network. You'll see some numbers here from Connecticut here shortly. 605,000 events were on the NFHS network last year, and that's out of 2.2 million opportunities. But we've streamed over 3 million games to date, and that's a big number. And so all those games are archived, all those performances are archived for those fans for years to come. So you have the one network again, and then you have two different boards. And the reason I want to show you this, I think it's important, is the board is made up of 7 individuals. You see Dr. Niehoff, but then also 3 other executive directors from throughout the country. Okay, so for the NFHS side, you have 4, and then from the investor side, you have 3. Why that's important is we make sure that high school philosophy is at the forefront of everything we do. Not that Play On has ever said, oh gosh, we got to raise more money, we got to do things different, we got to get away from high school. Not at all. Play On has been the best partners there are, and they always are looking at what's the best interest of schools and your state associations, even if it costs millions of dollars, as I mentioned earlier, and that's okay. Because again, this network was built for high school, performing arts, sports, every step of the way. And again, I'm really proud to say that. So again, we have a board of 4 on the NFHS side, 3 on the Play On side. So we always will have governance over that board. For some reason, if we get an investor in here that just doesn't have our philosophy, never will it go another way. And so I think you as an athletic director in school folk will always be able to know that your network will have the best interests in mind. Wanted to keep this one in here because we see, of course, Dr. Lingarini, and he's part of this. Glenn does a phenomenal job. It's called the Holdings Board. And so we have, again, 2 boards for the network. But the Holdings Board, now that there's a profit made, and I realized the first 7 years, there was no money that was made from the network. We actually were just, hemorrhaging cash, whether it be through free pixel-lots that were sent out, obviously through staff, and just getting the network up and running. But now that there's dollars made, that bucket of money goes to the Holdings Board, and Holdings distributes the money among state associations. And so Glenn is part of that group, and just forward thinkers, everyone, just like Glenn, I mean, is always thinking about how we can better our network and really appreciate his good work on this board. So I thought it was important to show that to you. But we talk about the philosophy of the network, and I just point you to those that are in red there. But the high school brand, again, high school only being important. We're going to talk a little bit about middle school as we're starting to look at middle school, but again, still within the high school family. Of course, the mission every step of the way, positive messaging. I can't tell you how many times that media will contact Keely and myself, will say, hey, can you give us that clip of the alleged wrong call that an official made? Or a fight that happened in the stands, or a fight that happened on the court. And we won't do that. And I think, if the media is not going to use our network clips for positive messaging, then we're not going to provide it to them. So again, I think that's another thing that's just important for the brand and the mission of what we're all trying to do together. Profitability, of course, to our members, schools receive dollars, as you know. Never does your school pay the NFHS network. That's not the type of network we are. It's more, we only pay you for being a part of the network. And so I thought that's important. Equity value, of course, the stakeholders, the state associations own part of the network, so that's important. And then, of course, opportunities and benefits for schools themselves. And so all of those are part of the network. A little more about the philosophy. I think this is perfect for where we're at. But NFHS, and I appreciate NFHS, what they do, but they're not who we are. They came to us and wanted to be a part of the NFHS network, and the decision was made that being that they're not part of the CIAC, the board said, hey, we're going to only stick within the schools that are part of CIAC in the state. And so NFHS has to look for another opportunity. And just not through the network. We want to focus our efforts on your schools. US Youth Soccer was another one, and US softball was another one. USA Football came, and again, they're not in our membership, so we chose, hey, let's focus our attention on our membership. And so that's all part of, again, the philosophy of the network, and you can moving forward it will be that way. But a little about the history from the get-go. Play On Sports, again, who's the operator behind the network. They're the tech side. You all know schools really well. CIAC knows schools very well. When we looked at this in 2012, we said, hey, we've got to find someone that understands technology. And so we talked to a number of companies, and at that time, Play On was already working with 19 different states. And ultimately, we partnered together to form the network in 2013. And at that time, 34 states came aboard, and we're at 46 today, which is good. But it was, again, all about bringing in the philosophy. And actually, the network was created with the same attorneys as the Big Ten network. And so pointed the structures in place where we provide the state associations a guaranteed rights fee. And then, of course, there's a revenue share about that ultimately they're using to provide services back to their schools. And so in 2013, when it was kicked off, it was great, but it was more of, at that time, because remember, Pixelot and automated cameras were not part of the network thought at the time. It was all about student-led broadcasts. And so how do we get more students to produce games? But what we found early was that they were filming and producing the biggest football game for the year, but they were not producing JV volleyball, and they were not producing, it was not equitable. To this day, of the 605,000 events that were on the network last year, 50.8% were girls' events, and then the remaining were boys' events. And to me, that's a credit, again, to our network. How do we make sure that splits 50-50? Just as many boys as there are girls events. And that's, again, our philosophy that I believe we all believe in this room, which is a good thing. So we've been able to stay true to that. But that was 2013-14 and student-led broadcasts. But we needed to find a solution. And so Pixelot was that solution. How do we find a way to get all freshman JV games covered across the board? Pixelot, obviously, automated cameras. That provided a great opportunity. So in 2015 to 2019 is when Pixelot came to be. We had a buy one, get one. Dr. Niehoff was very ahead of her time when she said, hey, our foundation is going to purchase cameras for a good number of schools in Connecticut. and credit her, for jump-starting Ural State. And I know that Glenn's got some ideas as well for this in the future. And so, again, we started with Pixel cameras. Those are obviously automated. We put one on the field. We put one inside your basketball, volleyball venues, and it automatically tracks. And I'm going to show you some enhancements of how Pixelot's getting better and will be getting better over this next year as well. So then, of course, COVID hits, and it's required that all schools need to have some sort of cameras in place, just because fans weren't allowed, and so we really started to revving up the network during COVID. And then to this day, obviously things are going well. The investments of Play On, to add more opportunities for you as athletic directors has really kicked off, and things are going as really well. After the first year of the network, as I mentioned, there was 34 states. CIAC, you always were kind of a founding member of the network, and credit, again, you all for that. That was year 1. After year 12 of the network, obviously you all are still part of the network, but we have 46 state associations, all 10. So New York and California are a little different, where there's sections. So all 10 sections in California, and then 8 of the 11 sections in New York are part of our network, and then PSAL, which is in Pennsylvania. So 65 total associations, and that's really where we want to limit it to, is, again, just these logos that are on the screen, and the 5 additional states that we hope to get at some point. After year 1, 28,000 live broadcasts for year 1, and then this last year, as mentioned, there was 605,000 events for the year last year itself. 700,000 events is what we're projecting will be this year on our network, which is good. Talked about 100 live broadcasts a day after year 1, and this last year we had 20,000 in one day, which is quite the feat for sure. 900 schools after the first year, and now we're at almost 9,000 schools nationwide. So wanted to show you kind of the growth of how your network's been over the past 12 years. This is a map of the states. As mentioned, Indiana and Missouri, Utah, Minnesota, and Hawaii are the states not part of our network, but hopefully we won't have to show this slide at some point. But they have large TV deals in place, and so eventually I think they'll all be part of it. But let's talk about some CIAC numbers. So out of your 184 schools, 115 are part of the network, 209 Pixelot cameras, and obviously trying to grow as much as we can. How do we get, most states have around 80% of their schools are part of the network. We're getting close, and we want to get there if we can. These will show your top 10 schools based upon the number of events, and so hopefully you know where all these schools are. But these are the top schools, and obviously appreciate what they've done for the past 12 years to really enhance the state. And so good, well done for each of these. So it's a good thing. Really hard to see. This is all your schools in the state that are part of the network, and that number to the right of the school name would be the number, or it would be the number of cameras that are associated with that particular school. Okay, so again, how do we have 2 slides of this? This is one of the goals of us today. But you've had, since, again, the inception of the network, 49,000 events that have been broadcast here in Connecticut. As I mentioned, you can go back on the network. The subscription's $11.99. You watch for 30 days. It can be all the 49,000 events that you've had on the network in the past, or all the live games itself, and that's nationwide. And so watch any of the 3 million total events on the network as part of the $11.99 subscription cost itself. We wanted to pull some subscriber distance from you. When we started the network, the number one thing we would hear is, hey, we don't want a streaming network to come in because it will take away our gate. So people won't come to the game because obviously there's a way for them to watch it, from their house. So these are some Connecticut numbers that we came up with. The top number is from 2 years ago. Last year is the bottom numbers, 23, 24. And zeroed in on greater than 50 miles from the venue. So what you're looking at, 69% of those who watched games in your state, and this is regular season as well as postseason, were watching games from 50 miles plus away. Okay, 69%. Less than 5%, you see 15%. And what we see for those that are less than 25 miles, sorry, I said it right, less than 25 miles away, 15%. Those that are watching less than 25 miles generally are those that are watching VOD, so video on demand. They're watching, the students will go home and watch themselves on the network after the game. They might watch one of their opponents that they was playing across town another time, but generally not live. Point is to this is that who is watching our network are those grandparents and aunts and uncles that truly can't make it to the game. If we zeroed in on the state, almost all of these folks are from outside of your walls of your state. Okay, these are, again, California and Florida's and other states outside of your state. But as we all know, there's nothing better than high school sports, and to attend it live, there's nothing better. And so our goal is to make sure, hey, how do we get fans, obviously, to the games? If they can't make it for some reason, because of driving distance, then, hey, they have an opportunity. And so always happy to provide you this data in terms of your schools that are on the network. If you ever have your board say, gosh, are we losing our gate revenue because of people are not watching, then we are more than happy to provide this and narrow in on your specific events for your school to make sure that people don't feel like your gate revenue is being lost through streaming. Couple of PixLot enhancements. We know that, hey, PixLots have been out 5 years, and it's time to make sure we get these upgraded. There's no question. And so how are we getting better when it comes to this? You'll see effective next year in-game live replays. And so at the end of a play, it automatically will show the replay of that game. And so this will show you a good example of that itself. And so this was a test game that we were showing. So boom, it comes in, during the huddle, in a sense, you're going to see a 15-second replay of the game itself. So I think it's kind of cool. In terms of it's an opportunity for fans, to have a really good user experience and see the play twice instead of just not watching anything, so to speak. So that's quite the neat enhancements. Live highlights, kind of on vertical format, meaning on your phone. About 65% of those who are watching the network are watching on their smartphones now versus on their screens. And so now you'll see the opportunity with short clips, easy to distribute it. Not that you couldn't cut a clip and share it on social media, but it gives the opportunity now, again, just a better format. Looks really, really sharp. And this is another really exciting enhancement for next year, and so the first down line. And so you'll have the yellow line that will be on the screen. Again, another opportunity for fans to see it at a better angle. Again, this is all live, and it's done with no humans required, with these cameras. So pretty cool enhancements, and I feel this will really help in terms of what we're doing. A lot of other things, and Keely and Sarah will talk about that here shortly, about all the good stuff happening. Proactive support initiatives. This is important. So the NFHS, obviously we contract Play On, and we want to make sure that the standards and quality are where they need to be. But I tell you, there's no one that wants it more than Play On. So Play On, who they do this every day for a living, they want to make sure that fans are happy, that athletic directors are happy, because if they're not, we don't have a business. And so really credit to Play On for their good work of what they've done. As of last year, there's a new feature called Canopy. Canopy allows the team in Atlanta to look into your PixLot cameras to see if they're working before the game. And so, as you all know, we sold this as athletic directors. There's nothing you need to do. Well, sometimes you need to plug in, but the advantage of Canopy is that it will look at every camera to see before the game, hey, is the scoreboard working? Is there audio? Is it just working? Is there condensation on the lens? Is there a bird nest up in the camera itself? There's been all kinds of things. And so the advantage with Canopy, obviously you can tell green is good, red is bad. If all of these cameras that were shown on this, if there's any red dots, and then obviously that's when the team needs to go in before the game to make sure that these units are working successfully. And so again, credit to do behind the scenes work to make sure that our network is solid and this has been big. Couple more slides here. Quality of measurements and performance. And so past measurement, when we looked at a successful game, we looked at those items that are on the left. So did the event stream? Was it scheduled to stream? Was there a video on demand created? And that was our past measurement of success. We've changed it to where now all 8 of these items, or 7 of these items that we're looking on the right-hand side, need to make sure they're working for it to be a successful event. And 95% was our numbers last year of success. And when you had audio status working, obviously the scoreboard connected, power status, internet status. So these are kind of our new measurement over the past year of success. And it sure has changed the whole outcome of the network. And so we're really pleased with that. Service and support, back to, I apologize, I got a typo there. It's Missouri, I was in last week. Connecticut in terms of your contacts itself. And so we have these cards. Hopefully you know who your contact is within the state association, as well as who it is in Atlanta for play on. And so you're going to meet Sarah here, and of course Keely, who will be direct contacts, myself. You can call anytime of night and day. This is what we do. And so we want to make sure that we take care of you. If you have an issue, then we should have the issue on our shoulders, and that's important. Credit to, again, Play On Again. The support hours go up to 2 a.m. Eastern Time. Obviously, that's for Alaska and California and so on. So with that said, during game times, you have someone to help you as the athletic director to make sure you can work through these things. So with that said, we have, I've got a few more slides here, but I think Sarah and Keely are going to cover some of these in terms of how different we are than our competitors, and why, if you're not on the NFHS network, why we believe you should be part of the NFHS network itself. And so I'll go ahead and rest there and see if there's maybe initial questions that you might have that we can address and go from there. Any thoughts? Yes, sir.
You showed in that slide of the enhancements, and it brought to my mind, I'm a league commissioner, and sometimes on a Friday night, I'll just stay home and I'll put 5 games up on my computer screen and flip-flop and forth. But you showed it there, the banner on the bottom that has the score, the time, the distance, they're all zeros on all of them.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the question. And that was because that was a test phase with us. We were just testing it. And like I said, now one of the measurements of success with the 95% success rate last year, that has to work for it to be successful. If there's games that you're watching and the banner's not working, then we want to know about that right away so that we can get our tech in there and say, hey, there's a problem. What's happening? And so has there been, you've said there's been a number of issues.
Most of them are.
And that's a problem. Yeah, that would be a part of the 5% of a non-successful event. Yeah, that's not what we want. Yeah.
So if I'm watching, is there a number I would call them that would be one of them?
Yeah, it'd be call, and I'll give you my obviously business card, Keely as well, and we'll address that right away. That can't happen. Keely, anything else from your end?
Yeah, I would just mention the phone number. That school support phone number is. Those are the people who will actually be able to fix it. We can get it to them, but I'm not the technical person. So that number is actually especially if it's 7
Yeah, I'm not
or 8
a
o'clock
school,
at
though,
night.
I'm a league.
But that's okay.
So,
But it's
get
your
that number.
schools that are
Yeah, right.
competing.
Okay.
So that would be.
I'll get that number.
Yep,
Thank you.
Yep, for sure.
I appreciate that. No, thank you. Hey, how are you?
How do I go from having no banner to having a banner? I'd rather not have the camera on my scoreboard.
Oh, got it.
The scoreboard. Is my camera that old that I just don't have that feature?
It should just be able to be a software update. But Nolan Bird is the customer success manager. He can, for everybody here in Connecticut, so he could definitely work on that. But again, our information is here. If you want to contact me or Mark, we can also get it to the right people.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, Trish, I appreciate that. I mean, so what you're saying, you have a separate camera that's showing, the scoreboard itself versus connected with a ribbon down below.
And every single time a PE student kicks a ball up there, I don't have a score, period. And it's
Now you're looking at the opposing fans. That's called picture-in-picture, Trish.
I'm up there with a flip chart.
I appreciate it. No, and this is the point of this. We're happy to take your name and number down today and get it to the right people. And so that's important. That's good. Any other questions? Got 2 more slides here. I'm going to show you. These are some numbers from last year. We already talked about the 8,900 schools and 605,000 events and number of subscribers. So down below, I think, is the biggest one that's important in terms of those that are highlighted. But $6.5 million went back to schools last year through the network itself. Connecticut schools, 425,000. Hopefully, many of you were part of that. And that number has nothing to do with the advertising dollar. So hopefully, you as a school, NFHS network school, you're selling advertising. You keep 100% of those dollars. You don't run them through us at all. That is all on you. But you're utilizing the screen, for logos themselves. Obviously, reads if you have someone that's calling play-by-play. Those are all ways that you can make additional dollars. And I think it's a unkept secret. So we really want you as schools to find ways to bring dollars. One thing about the NFHS network, the NFHS has never made one dime from the NFHS network at all. We're not here to get more dollars to the NFHS at all. It all goes back to state associations and schools. And I credit Dr. Niehoff for keeping that philosophy itself, because even though we're a nonprofit just like CIAC is, we're doing fine with the rulebook sales. I guess it's the best way to say it. And so with that said, we're happy to provide all the dollars back to schools through that 425,000 last year, and then, like I said, to state associations through their rights fees that they receive. Last slide here, key performance indicators. And so again, talking about those successful events, non-successful events. Down below, you'll see the numbers from 2 years ago, green up top. And so as we, again, at 95%, is a big number. Sure, we want 100%. We know that, but it's technology. There's things. And so how does that number get better? If I'm here this time next year, we have another line graph. How does that number stay above the 95% that you're seeing there? And so these are things that we're putting on play on to make sure that these numbers go up, are better all the time. Again, if a scoreboard's not working, that is a non-successful event in our eyes. Okay, and so that's important. And then you have the event success rate on the right-hand side, as I mentioned. Talked about middle school a little bit, and I just really float this idea in terms of we're in the process of testing middle schools in Tennessee. Tennessee, they have middle school state championships, and you'll see the number of events. I think it's 6 different championships. So we're looking at to see if middle school is a way that we can continue to enhance the network, again, still through the school and CIAC philosophy. And so more to come on this, but planting a seed for you all. Okay. That's all I have at this point. Obviously, Keely, do you want to start? Or Glenn, it's up to you how kind of next steps here. But,
Are there any other questions for Mark?
Take any question, please.
I have a quick question, only because I've talked with Nolan a couple times about it. Is there any progress towards being able to put a Pixelot in a pool setting for our swim programs?
It's interesting. They do have an algorithm in there. Keely, do you have any updates on that, or Sarah?
We have a few schools that do have Pixelots in their pool or an auditorium. We actually have a lot in California, like with water polo, with that being a big sport. It's definitely possible. Usually it becomes a fixed frame, instead of trying to track, obviously, just with the races.
Who are you going to track? Yep.
Yes, exactly. But yes, it is absolutely possible, and we do have some examples.
Is that something, obviously, you'd be interested in that? Yeah, awesome. Love that. That's great. Any other questions? But hopefully you see, obviously, first of all, that we really care. We really want to make sure that this is successful, the high school philosophy every step of the way, and we're here working for you. And that's why the network was created from the get-go. Okay? Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And a couple of other things just from our end as well. So if you don't know Cheryl Novoselli, she's our finance director. Don't get nervous, Cheryl. But again, that's right. Everybody's been paid here. Okay. When this started and Carissa was part of this years ago, really made a nice investment into getting cameras out to our schools, and we've hit that point where a number of our schools are up for renewal. So from CIAC's end, we want to help support that as well. So we're going to be looking at, again, through the foundation, talking with PlayOn. We've had some initial conversations of what we can do with schools that are with the network, how we can update their cameras, what role we can play in that to bring those cameras out to our schools on the network for free through CIAC pitching in on that and what we could work on and negotiate with PlayOn. So we want to get the updated quality cameras, technology within your school so you have all the features and all the things that, that Mark presented today. And again, with that coming to your schools at no cost to you, it only returns money to your school with the investment that you're making. There's really not a reason we can see to not have Pixelots in your school. It's only going to make your school money and to have it there. So we look forward in the very near future to introducing some of those plans through our foundation out to our schools and how we can help support you moving forward.
And Glenn, I'd say kudos to Glenn and your foundation because that would be one of a kind. You know, so when Carissa brought that aboard from the get-go, that philosophy, no other state had done that, had thought of that, and that's just outside the box thinking. So I really give credit to you all for that. So well done.